So, Black Clover is one of many shonen anime airing today that I'd like to call a jump baby, meaning that it was largely inspired by previous shonen jump titles, namely the big three: Naruto, Bleach, and of course, One Piece. Black Clover takes place in a fantasy world where magic is everything, and the main protagonist is ostracized for having no magic of his own. So, to combat this, it's his dream to become a magic knight and eventually the wizard king who leads them all. Now tell me if that doesn't sound familiar. At first glance, it's easy to write this off as a Naruto clone, hence the term jump baby. But after a while, the plot gradually distinguishes itself from Naruto, which was far more introspective with its characters and its motivations. It isn't until the elves come through on bullshit, however, that the show starts to set itself apart, which is admittedly too long of a wait for a lot of people. Black Clover isn't that deep. It focuses mainly on action and hijinks typical of a lot of shonen, and it capitalizes on it. So, if you don't feel like slogging it out for those 100 episodes, and honestly, who could blame you, here's my list of 5 anime like Black Clover. Tower of God centers around a boy called the 25th Bomb, or just Bomb for short, because honestly that is a weird ass name. He lives in a cave, completely separated from any and all contact, and as far as he knows, he was completely alone, until he's found by a girl by the name of Rachel. Rachel teaches him how to talk, how to read, how to write, and even gives him clothes, but eventually, Rachel abandons him to enter a place known as the Tower of God, a massive structure where every floor is the size of a continent. Wanting to reunite with her, he enters the tower himself and finds himself in the middle of deadly contests, political plots, and confronts clues to his own past in his pursuit of this girl. This series started off as a manhwa webtoon and was adapted into an anime that has its own unique style, which I do like. I also did a reaction series for the full season, and despite the slow pacing in the beginning, the action and the intrigue eventually made it shine as a dope series for anyone into shonen anime with a storyline more complex than the norm. So, if you are into raw ass fights, a little bit of intrigue, Tower of God is definitely a title you should watch. If you're looking for a male protagonist with a mysterious power surrounded by his own harem, then Trinity VII has you covered. The story follows Arata Kasuga, I hope I'm saying that name right, after experiencing an event known as a collapse phenomenon, which seemingly destroys the world around him and causes his cousin to completely disappear into another dimension. That one was never, it's weird, it gets really weird, really meta. He ends up at the Biblia Academy, a school for mages, and he becomes acquainted with a group of women there known as the Trinity VII. 7 mages who are each a master of their own particular style or form of magic, but collectively they are destined to meet the Demon King. Unfortunately, Arata is considered a Demon Lord candidate, so naturally, you can see the sort of hijinks here. I told you this was a harem, so it's almost as if you can't keep them apart. It's like it's a pretense for them to get into whatever sort of hijinks that you would get from a typical harem. The sauce is real. Check it out if that's what you into. From fire demons from another world, a fanatical cult wanting to bring everything to ruin, to a loudmouth main protagonist looking to become a hero, Fire Force is bound to keep you entertained. The story takes place in a world centuries after a massive calamity all but destroyed it, but it gave some people pyrokinetic abilities as a result, but also, sometimes, not often, but often enough, things go sideways and it turns some of those people into fire monstrosities known as infernals. I know, it's a hard knock life. Shinra Kusakabe, the main protagonist, is a pyrokinetic whose family was taken from him as a child, but he joins the Fire Force in order to combat other infernals and to find the monster who specifically took everything from him. In the process, he combats the same cult looking to recreate the calamity that brought the world to its knees centuries ago, and he has to consistently fight them. The series was made by the same person who made Soul Eater, so the comedy and art style are familiar, but the action sequences are definitely the main attraction of this series. If nothing else, it is an amazing series to watch, to look at, and dude, just fucking watch it, man. We're on season 2 now. What's wrong with you? Do that shit. Magi is an anime series inspired by the 1001 Arabian Nights stories and follows a kid named Aladdin and his djinn Ugo looking for the djinn's metal vessel. He comes across a poor kid named Ali Baba with his own backstory of royal origin, and the two go on an adventure across Persia, getting into conflicts and meeting other characters like Sinbad, the former sailor turned king of his own nation, or the slave warrior Morgana. Magi is a pretty wild and varied adventure that also spawned a spin-off centered around Sinbad himself. So, if you are looking for a pretty wild adventure and a lot of comedy in the fantasy world, old world fantasy, I should say, Magi definitely has you covered on that front. If you're into old school fantasy with video game logic and lustful gods and faded underdogs, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon, or Donmachi for us, cultured people, is the series for you. Donmachi takes place in the city of Horatio, where the gods have descended to the human world and given humans the power to fight monsters, turning them into adventurers. The story follows Ban Cornell, who's a rookie adventurer under his god Hestia, who in turn has a massive crush on him. One day, Belle is saved by a high-ranking adventurer, Eyes Wallenstein, who he falls in love with. Eventually, he begins to show dramatic growth as an adventurer, and gains the attention and affection of several other female characters, both mortal and god, because of his innocence and his desire to become a hero. Though not considered a harem and far from ecchi, Donmachi is a pure fantasy adventure that has a character start from nothing and grow to achieve a dream despite the challenges in his way and the problems the fairer sex actually gives him on the regular basis. And that, ladies and gentlemen, are 5 anime like Black Clover. If you have any titles that I didn't mention, feel free to put them in the comment sections down below. If you have any problems with my list, feel free to tweet me on Twitter, where I probably will not read them. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, it's your boy the Mad Prince telling you all to stay classy. Doses.